My stepson called me a gold digger for years, but when he destroyed my car and ruined the biggest meeting of my life, I showed him the receipts for the dollar. 150K. I paid for his college and they never saw my legal revenge coming. I'm 37 years old. I work in financial consulting. And I need to tell this story because after 6 years of marriage, I finally got divorced like 3 months ago. And there are still people sending me messages saying I'm a gold digger who ruined a family. The irony is so huge, it's almost funny. But anyway, I guess I should start from the beginning. When I met Andrew at a business conference like 7 or 8 years ago, I don't remember exactly. He was attractive, intelligent, had that mature man vibe who knew what he wanted. And when he told me he was a widower with a teenage son, I thought, okay, I can handle this. It's not that complicated. How naive I was. Seriously. Andrew had a son, Tyler, who at the time was like 13 or 14 years old. I'm not really sure because he never even wanted to talk to me so I could know those basic things about his life. From the first day I met him, that kid looked at me like I was the worst trash in the world. I tried everything. You know, being the cool stepmom who doesn't try to replace mom. I bought him things he liked, tried to talk to him about his interests, but nothing worked. He just ignored me or responded with monosyllables, and Andrew always said, "Give him time. He lost his mother just 2 years ago. He's going through a lot." And I understood. I really understood. But there was something about the way Tyler looked at me that made me feel like an intruder in my own relationship. The first 2 years were relatively normal, I guess. Andrew had a stable job at the time. I was building my career in consulting. We moved in together after like a year of dating, got married the following year. Tyler lived with us, obviously, and the situation was tense but manageable. He basically treated me like I was invisible, which hurt, but at least wasn't openly hostile. I paid my share of things. Andrew paid his. Everything was equitable and worked well. But then Andrew decided he wanted to start his own business, something related to import and export. I'm not going to get into details because honestly, I never really understood what exactly it was he did. But the thing is, he needed to invest a lot of money and time. At first, I supported him completely. I mean, who wouldn't want to see their husband pursue their dreams? I told him it was no problem, that I could cover more household expenses while he established the business, that it was temporary. Temporary. That word became a 3-year lie. Andrew's business never took off, honestly, and I don't know if it was bad luck, bad management, or a combination of both, but every month was the same story. I need a little more time. Things are going to get better next quarter. I just need to make one more investment. And I, like an idiot, kept saying yes, kept paying the rent, the utilities, the food, everything. Tyler started college, and guess who paid tuition? Books? The used car we bought him so he could get to campus? Yeah, me. All me. During those 3 years, I basically became the only stable source of income for the family. And the worst part is, Tyler had no idea. Andrew told him he was handling everything. That his business was doing well, but that he was reinvesting the profits. Lies upon lies. And Tyler kept treating me with that disdain, that attitude, like I wasn't anyone important in his life. There were moments when I wanted to scream at him. Tell him that without me, he wouldn't be at that expensive university he liked so much, that without me, we wouldn't even have a house. But Andrew always asked me not to, that Tyler was at a difficult age, that if we told him the truth he would feel bad and it could affect his studies. It was always about protecting Tyler, about not upsetting Tyler, about keeping Tyler happy. Things got worse when Tyler started overhearing our discussions about money. Andrew and I fought a lot in that last year. Like every week, there was an argument about finances, about when he was going to contribute, about whether his business was ever going to work. And Tyler started hearing fragments of these conversations, but of course, he only heard the parts where I asked about money, where I said we couldn't keep going like this. He didn't hear the parts where Andrew admitted he had no income, that he depended completely on me. So Tyler started with the comments, small at first. Like Gold Digger whispered when he walked by the living room, or sarcastic comments about how I was always worried about money. And when I said something to Andrew, he just said Tyler was stressed about college, that he didn't mean it, that I was being too sensitive. What finally broke the camel's back, or however that saying goes, was like 6 months ago. I had a super important meeting with a potential client, a meeting that literally could have given me a huge bonus and a promotion. I had been preparing for weeks. The night before, I checked everything, left my portfolio ready, my presentation on the laptop, and set my alarm for 5 inches the morning because the meeting was at 8 and traffic in this city is a nightmare. I went to sleep feeling that mix of nerves and excitement, when you know something important is going to happen the next day. I woke up at 5 as planned, got ready, went down the stairs, and when I got to the garage, my heart literally stopped. My car wasn't there. My beautiful car that I had bought with my own money like 2 years ago. The first new car I'd ever had in my life wasn't in the garage. I thought it had been stolen. I panicked, ran up the stairs screaming that someone had stolen my car, and Andrew woke up confused, saying Tyler had left early, something about going to the gym before classes, and I said, "Tyler took my car? You gave him permission to take my car?" And Andrew, with a face like, "I don't understand what the problem is," said Tyler, mentioned something about needing a car because his was in the shop and he assumed I wouldn't have a problem. I called Tyler like 20 times. He didn't answer. I sent him messages. Nothing. It was 5:30 inches the morning. My meeting was in 2.5 hours, and I had no car. I tried to order an Uber, but the app said the wait time was 45 minutes because it was too early and there weren't many drivers available. Andrew offered to take me, but his car was also in the shop. Can you believe it? Both cars in the shop the same week? How convenient. I ended up missing the meeting, called the client apologizing, made up a family emergency, and probably lost one of the best opportunities of my career because of that spoiled kid. Tyler got home like at 2 inches the afternoon, and when he arrived, my car, my beautiful car, had a huge dent on the driver's side. The rearview mirror was hanging, and there was a scratch that went from the front door to the back. I stood at the entrance, staring at the car, feeling my blood boil, and Tyler got out of the car like nothing happened, with his headphones on, walking toward the house. I stopped him, asked him what the hell happened to my car, and he shrugged his shoulders, literally shrugged his shoulders and said, "I had a small accident in the parking lot. It's not a big deal. Your insurance covers it anyway. Not a big deal. Not a big deal." That car meant something to me. It was the first really valuable thing I had bought with my own effort, and this kid had destroyed it and treated it like he'd spilled milk on the floor. Something in me broke in that moment, and before I could think twice, I slapped him. Hard. The mark of my hand stayed red on his cheek, and he looked at me with wide eyes, in total shock, and I started screaming at him everything I had kept for years. I screamed at him. Who did he think he was to treat my car like it was his? That I had lost an important meeting because of him? That he had no right to take my things without permission? And then I told him the truth. I screamed at him that he had no idea about anything. That for the last 3 years, I had paid every cent for that house. That his tuition, his books, his food, his clothes, everything, absolutely everything had come out of my pocket because his father didn't have a cent. I told him that while he called me a gold digger, I was the only one keeping this family afloat. That without me, he wouldn't be at his nice university living his comfortable life. Tyler went quiet, completely in shock, and Andrew came down the stairs after hearing the screaming, asking what was happening. But I was fed up. I went up the stairs, grabbed a suitcase, and started putting clothes in it without even folding them properly. Andrew kept asking me what I was doing, trying to calm me down, saying we could talk about this, and I just told him I was leaving, that I couldn't take it anymore, that after 6 years of being treated like an ATM and like an intruder in my own house, it was enough. I went to a hotel that same night, a hotel I paid for with my credit card, obviously, and for the first time in years I felt light, like they had taken a huge weight off my shoulders. The first days at the hotel were strange. Honestly, Andrew sent me like 50 messages a day, calls, voicemails, all saying the same thing, that he was sorry, that we could fix this, that Tyler was also very sorry, please come back home. Tyler also sent me a message, I think it was like on the 3rd day, saying he didn't know I had been paying for everything, that if he had known it would have been different, that he was embarrassed about how he had treated me. And I read those messages and felt nothing. Like I was so emotionally drained that I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just tired. I stayed at the hotel for like a week and then moved to my brother Benjamin's apartment while I looked for my own place. And during all that time, I kept receiving messages from Andrew begging me to come back. It was Benjamin who told me I needed to talk to a lawyer, that after 6 years of marriage and being the only financial provider, I had rights. that I couldn't just leave and let Andrew keep everything when I had invested so much. So I contacted a lawyer. Stephen Park was his name, a serious and professional guy who listened to my whole story and told me I had a solid case for divorce and to recover some of the money I had spent. I gave him all the receipts, bank statements, proof that I had paid for practically everything for years, and he said we were going to fight for fair compensation. Before Stephen filed the official papers, I decided to do one last test with Andrew. I guess part of me still wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, he valued our marriage more than his need to protect Tyler. I sent him a message saying we could try to work things out, but I had one non-negotiable condition. Tyler had to leave the house. He was 19 years old. He could get a part-time job, live on campus, or find roommates. Basically, he needed to learn to be independent, and I needed space from him. And Andrew, instead of immediately responding yes, that he would do whatever it took to save our marriage, hesitated. He told me he couldn't ask that of him. That Tyler was his son. That he had just lost his mother a few years ago, and now I wanted him to kick him out of the house. That was cruel. That answer told me everything I needed to know. I took a screenshot of the whole conversation and sent it to Tyler with a message that basically said, "I thought you should see this. Your father is choosing to protect you over fixing his marriage. I'll always be second choice here." I don't know what I expected to happen. Maybe I wanted to cause drama. Maybe I just wanted Tyler to see the truth. But what happened was Tyler exploded. He sent me a long message saying he couldn't believe his father had lied to him for years, that he felt betrayed, that all this time he had thought his dad was the one supporting the family when in reality it was me, and that now he saw his dad was choosing me over him, or something like that. I think he didn't understand my point well, but whatever. Tyler left the house. I think he went to live with a friend or something. And Andrew sent me furious messages saying I had destroyed his relationship with his son, that I was manipulative. How dare I get between them? That's when Stephen officially served the divorce papers. Andrew received them and apparently had a fit, called Stephen yelling that this was ridiculous, that I had no right to ask for so much money in the settlement, that he had also contributed to the relationship in other ways. Stephen very calmly explained that we had documentation of every cent I had spent, that for 3 years I had been the only financial provider and that the law was on my side. Andrew hired his own lawyer, a cheap guy who clearly didn't know what he was doing, and started fighting every point of the settlement. The first mediation session was a disaster. Andrew showed up with his lawyer and with this victim attitude, saying I had abandoned him when he needed me most, that his business was about to take off, that if I had just waited a few more months, everything would have gotten better. And I sat there listening to him and thinking, seriously? After 3 years, he's still using the same excuse? His lawyer tried to argue that I couldn't prove the money I had spent was a loan and not just shared marriage expenses, but Stephen pulled out all the text messages where Andrew promised he would pay me back, where he admitted he had no money, where he thanked me for keeping the family afloat. It was glorious to see him have no counter-arguments. The divorce process took like 7 months. It was exhausting and emotional, and there were days where I thought it wasn't worth it, that I should just let it go and move on with my life. But Benjamin constantly reminded me this wasn't just about the money. It was about the principle. It was about not letting someone take advantage of me and get away without consequences. And he was right. We finally reached a settlement. Andrew had to pay me compensation that covered a good portion of the money I had invested in his life during those years. Not everything, because you know how these legal things are. You never recover everything. But it was enough to feel like I had won something. I thought once the divorce was finalized, everything would calm down, that I could finally move on with my life in peace. But no, Andrew had to have the last word. He made a Facebook post, one of those long, dramatic posts, telling his version of the story where basically he painted me as a cold woman who had abandoned him when his business was going through difficulties, who had manipulated his son against him, who had taken everything in the divorce. He didn't mention, of course, that I had paid for absolutely everything for 3 years, that his son had treated me like garbage, that he never really tried to save the marriage. And people believed, to him. Mutual friends started sending me messages asking how I could be so cruel, calling me a gold digger. How ironic that now I was the one leaving with Andrew's money, when according to them, I was always the one after his money. Honestly, that hurt more than I expected. Seeing how people I knew, people I had shared dinners and celebrations with, turned their backs on me without even asking for my version of events. I was tempted to make my own post, explaining everything, showing the receipts literally. But Stephen advised me not to, that it wasn't worth it, that the people who mattered knew the truth and the rest didn't deserve my energy. So I just started blocking people. Eventually deleted my Facebook because it was more toxicity than I could handle, and focused on rebuilding my life. I got my own apartment like 3 months after the divorce was finalized. A small place but completely mine. No drama, no tension, no one treating me like I was an intruder. Benjamin helped me move, and when I put the last box in the living room and looked around, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Pure peace. There was no one demanding money from me, no one treating me with contempt, no one telling me I was being selfish for wanting to have my own life. Derek, the owner of the shop where I had taken my car after the accident Tyler caused, offered to let me stay in his extra apartment for a couple of weeks while I found my place. And we became good friends in the process. Like, it's nice to have new people in your life who don't know your whole dramatic story. Now, 3 months after the divorce, I'm planning a trip to Greece. I always wanted to go to Greece, the islands, the history, the food, but I could never go because all my money went into supporting a family that didn't even appreciate me. So I said, you know what? I deserve it. After everything I went through, I deserve to take that money I recovered from the divorce and spend it on something that makes me happy. I bought the tickets last week, and every time I think about being on a beach in Santorini without worries, I smile like an idiot. Tyler sent me a message like a month ago saying he's living on his own now, working part-time while finishing college, that things are hard but he's learning a lot about responsibility. He didn't mention specific apologies, but he did say he now understood better what I had gone through. I didn't respond. Honestly, I don't know if I ever will. Part of me feels like maybe eventually we can have some kind of cordial relationship. But for now, I need my space. I need to heal from all that resentment I built up over the years. Andrew hasn't contacted me since the divorce was finalized. I heard through the grapevine he finally closed his business and got a normal job, which he probably should have done from the beginning, but well, it's not my problem anymore. The other night I was in my apartment, drinking wine and watching a movie, and I realized that for the first time in 6 years I didn't feel that constant anxiety in my chest, that feeling of waiting for the next crisis, the next unexpected expense, the next disrespect. And I thought, this is what freedom feels like. This is what it feels like to put your own needs first without feeling guilty. I guess that's my ending. It's not a perfect ending where everything resolves and everyone's happy, but it's my ending, and I'm at peace with it.